Hello, in today's video, I just wanted to talk briefly about what you should do when you see your earnings in Google AdSense just take a dive dramatically. Now, if you watch your stats in Google AdSense really consistently, like you check the CPC and you look at your impressions and your page views and your RPMs and your active view viewable, and you're just looking at all the stats, trying to learn as much about it as possible, if you're paying attention, that you are going to notice occasionally, or maybe consistently, it just depends on what's going on, that you may have a day where you just earn nothing. Like you may earn consistently for day in, day out, it's the same amount of money, boom, 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 and then one day everything takes a dive. Now, the first thing you should do is take a deep breath and not panic, okay? Just because you have one bad day does not mean that it's all just done, right? That there's been some update and then everything is in a catastrophe and that you're not going to make the site earn again. You got to take a deep breath, okay? Because there are going to be cycles of days where things go up and down and up and down, and you may never know what caused that. Okay, it could be something completely, and most likely is something that has nothing to do with you, especially if your site is one that's been very stable and consistent for a long time. It could be that there's something going on with the updating with Google AdSense, and that happens where they just don't update the stats. Sometimes they will be a couple hours behind. I don't know why this happens, but sometimes you'll be stuck on the same amount of dollars earned, and it'll go like that for hours, 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 and then boom, it will update, and then the number will increase like normal again. I don't know why that happens, but it does. Sometimes you will just see one day where the CPC is basically zero or close to zero or as close to zero as you can possibly get, and you're still getting clicks, but the amount of money you make per click is dropped off by 99%. These are not necessarily signs that something bad has happened. It could just mean that something is going on that you do not have control over. And the thing that I do not recommend that you do is make dramatic changes to your sites or make dramatic changes to your business. You need to watch the stats. You need to wait and see and try to get an idea, if you can, what is the problem? What is the cause? And then once you know that what's happening is something that is consistent and is going to continue and is not just the result of an update or a malfunction or a trend. I mean, look at this. Like at the end of every quarter, you're going to see fluctuations in traffic and you're going to see fluctuations in the amount of earnings. It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with advertisers and their budgets and their systems and times of year when they want to spend money. You don't have the control over the trends or whether it's summer or winter or whatever. When you see bad stats, and this is, I'm telling you just from experience, because I have done this where I see something happening negative in my account and I immediately go to try and combat it, right? I'm a fighter, right? I don't just let bad things happen with my business. I see something happening and I want to fix it. But with AdSense and display advertising, because it takes a long time for the outcome and the results of your changes to settle in, and also to know whether or not the numbers, what you're seeing, whether or not they're long lasting or whether or not they're just something that's going to happen for that day or maybe even that week. You can't just go run and start flipping switches and wait to see what happens. You can't just go and change things. I would say that if you are seeing a trend in numbers, the first thing you should do is stretch out the timeline that you're looking at, and then make sure that it's not just a cycle, right, that is consistent throughout the year. If you have data for a couple of years, like look and see if maybe every August is bad, or maybe every September or October, or back to school is what it is, or maybe it's Christmas. Look to see if you can spot some trends. Also, just if you decide that it's time to fight, right, time to make changes, have a plan, right? If you don't just go in and say, I'm going to switch out this ad unit to see if one performs better. Look at where things are performing badly and then focus on that area. Maybe it's not so much changing out your ad units. Maybe it's time to add new content. Maybe it's an issue that has to do with your analytics and the data that's coming from your website, and not from having anything to do with whether you're using a link ad or a display ad or who knows. Just if you're going to make changes, have a plan, and then make changes slowly, okay? Implement one thing and then let it see how it plays out. And if your change is to add content, right? I want more traffic because if I get more traffic, then I'll earn more money because I'll have more clicks. You know, it's just, you know that these things aren't going to happen overnight. You're not going to add a blog post and then make money from that blog post the next day, because it takes time for that post to do all the things that it needs to do before people start seeing it. So everything about AdSense is about patience. You start an AdSense site and then you have to be patient for that site to build traffic and to start earning. When you make changes, you have to be patient because it takes a while for those changes to work themselves through and for the outcome of those changes to be seen. So you're freaking out because your earnings have dropped. I just ask you to take a deep breath and then look at the data and study the data before a while before you go in and make changes. And if you cannot be patient enough to run an AdSense site calmly and making decisions calmly and with patience, then this is probably not the business model for you. Anyway, if you have any questions about this, that's just what I was thinking in my mind, and I just wanted to share that as a piece of advice. If you have any thoughts, questions, concerns, please leave them in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.